of you, and welcome to Acadgild webinar. So as you guys know, this webinar is specially arranged for this Android application, music player application development. So before we start the webinar, let me go through a brief introduction of the Acadgild. I am Hardik Trivedi, your Acadgild Android mentor. So I'll be taking the webinar. So what is Acadgild? Like Acadgild is a technology education startup which provides the strong platform to the college graduates or professionals to improve or to brush up their skills so that it can be helpful in their to increase the job ready skills, right? We offers various courses like Android application development, full stack web development. Full stack web development is like very much in demand nowadays. Then we offer big data and Hadoop, front end development, Angular JS, all new technologies or upcoming technologies. We provide trainings on that, right? So it is the founded by the Vinod Dham. He is a CEO and founder of the Acadgild. He is known as father of the Pentium, right? He has like highly, he is known for his highly contribution of these Pentium processors. We all know Pentium processors, right? So before we start with the webinar, let me go through the content of the webinars. So in these next 2 hours, we will focus on the below things, which is introductions to Android, like basic concept of the Android, mainly components of the Android. Then we will see what is the project structure. Then our main topic, building a music player app and the entire workflow for the app, with some concepts like how to display data in a list view, how to perform some task in a background, which is also known as services in Android. Meanwhile, if you guys have any question, you can ping me anytime. I hope everyone can see my presentation screen. So any question you have, you can ping me on chat. Right now you all guys are on mute mode because this is the webinar. So ping me anytime if you have any question or raise your hand. There is an option given, raise hand. Okay, so what is Android? So as you all know, Android is a mobile operating system or a platform which is built on the Linux kernel system and which is currently developed and maintained by the Google. Okay, it's an open source platform, so you can download the source code, modify according to your need, rebuild, all those stuff you can, right? So it's a combination of OS, middleware, and bunch of applications. So these built-in applications like home application, contacts, phone, all those things, right? The programming language which is used for developing an Android application is Java. So the core Java is used to develop the Android application. What we use to develop Android. So there is a ID recently launched by the Google, and it is the official ID nowadays, which is called Android Studio. Previously people were using Android Eclipse, but now they have stopped supporting the Eclipse, and Android Studio is the becoming the official ID. So you can download the Android Studio from their website, configure it, download the SDK, and you are good to go with the Android application development. Now SDK will come up with all the required things to develop and test your Android application on tablets and smartphone as well. So they have emulators, you can configure various emulators and start developing your own app. I'll be sharing various useful links and the presentation links and the entire recording session with you all guys after the webinar ends. Next thing, Android core concept. So before we jump into the Android application development, there are few things which we have to know. The basic thing which is known as components of Android. So very first component is activities. So activity is something which deals with the user interface. So anything you see on your Android phone or Android emulator, that is nothing but the activity. So yeah, we were discussing about the activity. So that provides screen to the user which allows to interact with the user interface. So it is ideally any screen which shows you list of data, which has a kind of login screen or sign up screen. If we are seeing a photo on our phone, that is nothing but the activity. A browser, which is nothing but the activity. So anything which is visible on screen, that is called activities. Now activity has its own life cycle. So when this activity is started, when it is destroyed, or when it goes into the pause mode, all those things are useful for us while developing an Android application. So what Android does, they give us some callback methods to identify the action which is happened or which is triggered by the OS. See, every activity is created by the operating system. So whenever the activity is created, we got notification in some particular method. We will see when we actually write our music player app. Okay, but this is just to give you brief. Next thing is services. Now services is similar to activity, but the only key difference between services and activity is they don't have user interface. So all services runs in background. So anything you want to perform in a background which doesn't requires the user interaction, then you can use these services. Next major component is intent. Now intent is very useful, right, and very important. So if I would like to describe intent in a one line, I will tell you guys that it's nothing but the message sharing component or message sharing mechanism, message passing mechanism basically. So if you want to pass any data from one component to another component, or one activity to another activity, or activity to services, basically inter-process communication, you can do with the intents. You can pass bunch of data with the intents and get your things done. Okay. Next thing is what is happening once the app is built. So the final outcome of any Android app is .apk file. .apk stands for Android package. So whenever you build any project and it is ready for release, you have to create the .apk file. Now Android Studio will automatically create .apk file when you click on the run button or when you select the option to build the app. So we don't need to worry about how to create .apk file. We just need to copy that file, do some digital signature process, and it is ready to upload on the Play Store account. Next thing which is coming with this smartphone is sensors. Now any Android phone has pre-built sensors like GPS, cameras, right? All those sensors are already there. Accelerometer, gyroscope. Those are some high level and advanced sensors which is useful to enhance the experience of a smartphone. So I got a question that how we can interact with the service if we don't have UI. So services are something which is started by the activity. So based on some user interaction or based on some scheduling thing, we start the services, right? We have a method using which we can start the services, and there are two types of services. We will learning the two types of services in a few minutes. So there you will have a clear cut idea about how to start the services and how exactly the services are working. Okay. Next good thing is widget. Now widgets are something which displayed on your home screen. Even if like you don't need to open the app really, you directly got the highlighted content on your home screen like weather or time, those things. So that is known as widgets. Basically shortcut kind of thing which displays something to the user without opening the app. Then next thing is broadcast receivers. So broadcast receivers are basically OS driven notification. So if anything happens, like if your booting is completed, your app might get notification if you have registered. So each and every app has to register with the OS to use the particular broadcast receivers. There are variety of broadcast receivers provided by the OS like headphone plugged in, battery status, internet connection, disconnection, all those small things. There are a lot of broadcast receivers provided by the OS. So if your app is really needed those notification, you have to register those broadcast receiver inside an Android manifest.xml file. So Android manifest.xml file is a kind of configuration file which is read by your operating system, and operating system decides what is the overall status of your Android application, what it uses, what various broadcast receiver it is using, what services it is using, all those things. So we have to provide each and everything into the manifest file. We will see the manifest file also in our project because each and every project has to have that manifest file. Without that manifest file, your project won't build. Next thing is content providers. Content provider is something which allows to share the data between two applications, but with some request process, right? We cannot trespass any application and get its data. We have to do some contract which is known as content provider or content resolver, which allows us to read the third party applications data. For example, the WhatsApp is reading our contacts. How they are able to read our contacts? So they are using this concept, content providers. Or you can take example of Truecaller. Whenever a call is coming, it is showing the notification and the name of the person. So it is all the concept of content providers, sharing data between to applications. Okay. After the components, say we are able to successfully create our first project, then you will give or you will have the similar kind of project structure on your IDE. Now let's have a brief about each and every folder structures, because it is very important to know about each and every project structure and importance about each file. So I have highlighted the major folders with the numbers, and I have provided the description of that number on right hand side. So very first folder is Java. You will have a Java folder in your project. So the Java folder is containing your source code basically. Any .java file will be there in your Java project. So all your activities, all your services will be the class file basically, and all your class file will have .java file extension, and that will reside in a Java folder. Okay. Then next thing we have resources. So resources as in all the images, all the layouts, all your string components is known as resources. Those are the resources for your application, which will be used by application whenever it is needed. So displaying a home screen image, displaying an icon, or how your login screen layout will look like. Those are called as resources. In resources, we have various categories like drawables, layout, values folder. All those things are there. What drawable does? Drawable holds your all images. So .jpg or .png images basically. So once we are done with all the images and everything, we have to arrange them properly, because Android device come up with a variety of resolutions, variety of screen sizes. So we have some particular folders called HDPI, MDPI, XHDPI, double XHDPI. So to just give a brief about this idea, we will have 3 to 4 versions of same images with different height and width to match up all the screen sizes. Now our Android OS is smart enough that from which folder it has to pick the image. It will pick the image accordingly and will display on the screen. So we will have a similar UI or user experience across all the devices. The next thing is layout. So each and every layout, your user interface screen basically, that has to be stay in the layout folder. So that will be a XML file. We have to design each and every layout using XML. We will learn how to design a XML file or how to design a layout using XML file. Then we have some resources like strings. So if I want to display a label to the user, say username or login button label, where should I put all those things, all those hard-coded string values? So it will go into the values folder, labels and all those things basically. Then comes the manifest file. So manifest file defines what our application is carrying. So few minutes back I told you, right, what are the activities our application will have, what are the services our application will have, what permissions we will use. We have to specify each and every permissions to the user. Say if I want to use internet, I have to provide the permission in my app. I cannot directly use internet facility, because that will be the attack on the security if I don't tell user that I am using his internet connection, right? Similar thing goes with the camera. I have to provide each and every permissions to use any particular facility provided by the operating systems. Okay. Now let's have a overall workflow how we will move ahead, right? What will be our approach to design the music application? So first of all, we have to get the list of songs. Over here, we will use the concept of content provider, which is one of the component of the Android operating system. So we will use content provider to get the list of songs which is stored in the Android SD card, your phone's SD card basically. Once we have the list of songs, we will display to the user with proper user interface. List of the name, list of the songs, right? Album name, duration, all those things. Then using media controller, we will have to manage play and pause of the song. User will start the song by clicking on the song item. The song will started playing. Then user can pause the song. It will do various navigations action like changing the song to previous or next state, right? And the major thing is playing songs background, because music app is something we will not keep it open all the time, right? Because we might need to listen songs while we are riding bikes or car, or while we are working on our machine. So app should run in a background. So we will also learn how to play the songs in background. Okay, this is the diagrammatic representation of our application's behavior. So first step is list activity. List activity will display the songs which will be provided by the content resolver. Now there will be a database maintained by the operating system where it is stored everything, right? Basically your Unix file structure. Your songs file will be there. In that file structure, content resolver will help us to get the list of the songs and display on the screen. Now adapter view is a concept which will help us to display data on a screen. Okay, so this is little bit about the theoretical questions, theoretical concept. If you guys have any questions so far, just ask me. Then we will move ahead with the development. So one participant has asked question, if media controller is related to MVC? So answer is no. Media controller is basically your controller buttons, play, pause, previous, next, stop. Those things is called media controller. So we are controlling our media. That is why it is called media controller. MVC is a separate thing. It's architecture or design pattern. It's really a big concept, model view controller, but it is definitely not an MVC. Media controller is not an MVC. Another question I have is about the content provider. So what is the content provider? Let's cover it again. So read carefully. Content provider will supply data to one application from another. So let's take an example of WhatsApp again. What WhatsApp is doing, whenever I select the tab of the contact in a WhatsApp, it will automatically fetching contacts from my contact application which are already there on the WhatsApp, which are already using the WhatsApp. So how they are doing, they have to read our contacts, and how they are reading our contact, it is using the concept of content provider. So content provider is basically nothing but accessing someone's database, but in some particular process. We have to register our application, we have to tell application that this will read this particular information, contact or SD card content, even SMSs. So clear with the content provider. Okay. Now next question is, okay, before that we have a question for the content provider again. Question is, can we access message from the WhatsApp from our app? We would have able to access the message from the WhatsApp, but it is up to WhatsApp whether they want to provide or not. So if WhatsApp is allowing or WhatsApp has designed the content provider, we can fetch the messages. And it is the contact app, the native contact app, which is allowing us to fetch the contact. So if say I have designed my contact app, if I don't want my database to share with other, I have to program in such a way that no one can use my database. So it is up to us, it is developer's responsibility how to design the app, or it is a part of the requirement basically. One more question we have, why we are not using database to store these songs. Okay, now songs is something which is keep updating via user. What user usually do, it just plug in his device or attach his device to the computer, just copy the songs in some particular folder. So songs are stored in the SD card. Now no need to store in our database, right? Because that is something unnecessary. User may add or delete songs anytime, and we cannot update our database without opening the app. So it is better to read from the folder itself, from the SD card itself. One question we have is difference between implicit intent and explicit intent. So there are two types of intent basically, implicit and explicit. Implicit is something which we can force to pass the data. We will cover in the example, there is a class called intent, right? We can pass some data and get the things done. Something like, say I want to open a camera app. I can do that using implicit intent, which is provided by the operating system itself. If I want to display URL to the browser, I want to open that browser, I have some particular piece of code. I can write that code in my application and my application will open the browser automatically and it will load the URL which is given by my application. It's called implicit intent. It is automatic intent basically. And another is explicit intent. So explicit intent is something what we define. We create the object of the intent, we add the data and we pass the intent to the next activity or services, that is called explicit intent. Make sure you have like set volume level 100% or at the proper level so that you all can hear me properly. Next question is, do we need the license file if we need to access or change the hardware settings too? Yes, we have to provide permissions for each and every things like changing the volume level or accessing the state of the internet, whether it is connected or not. If I want to access the camera, which is hardware, I have to specify in the manifest file as a permission. So yes, we do need license in such cases. So Adyan, make sure you check your volume level first of all. If you are using headphone, then try to remove and plug it again or use the laptop speaker itself. Meanwhile, any questions guys, you can ask me right now, then we will move ahead. Yeah, please ask. Yes, we are going to use Android Studio for this webinar. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, so before we start, let me explain you the two different types of services, which is called bind services and normal services. The unbound services is something where service is running independently. No other component can communicate with the services when it is running. And bound service is something which is binded with some component like activity, where activity can interact with the services to send the message on particular period of time. In our example, say I want my song is playing in background and I want to change the songs from the list screen. So that will be an example of bind services. So we will be using the concept of bind services in this webinar. And unbind services is something which doesn't interact with the UI component. It just perform its task and destroy. So this is the life cycle of the services. The first column is for unbound services and the second column is for bound services. So first of all, call to services will go using start service and bind service. This is the difference between two methods. Then each service will get created and we get notification in the on create. After on create, the service will start performing the task if it is unbound service, and if it is bound services it will call onBind method. We will see that in our example. Then it will perform this task and call the on destroy function whenever it is going to destroy and then shut down the services. Now we learn lot of things, lot of theoretical concepts about activities, services, how the flow will be there for music app. Now let's jump into the development and let's see how the music application is developed. So I'll be sharing ID with you guys, that is Android Studio, and we will have a step-by-step explanation of each and every component in the application project. So I just shared my Android ID with you guys. I hope it is readable with you. So as we said, I have already created the project. I have source code ready with me. I have prepared a small application to explain you friends. Okay. So we will go through each and everything one by one. So once your project is created, you get similar structure which you are seeing on the left hand side. we have learned that our Java file will be inside Java folder. So each and every source code is inside this folder Java. You can see there is a package and there are multiple folders inside. Each folder has some specific purpose. That's why we have created those folders. So we have a concept of package. Package allows us to simplify the file structures. To whenever we need some particular file, we will directly go to that package and find the file. So activities means all activities will be inside that folder. So whenever we need to find anything related to UI, we will go into this activity folder. Then we have resource folder. So you can compare this with the presentations folder structure. It is the same. We have different drawables. So different folders to maintain the images to support various devices. Then we have layout. So this layout are nothing but these screens, our screens. Then values have some folders which will help us to use, like there are some labels set. Then I have used some color codes to make the app beautiful in terms of user experience. So all color code will go over here. Then dimensions is basically where you provide the unit for spacing. Say I want to give padding of some amount of pixels, so I can mention those figure over here. Then style, I can prepare a theme of my application to reduce the repetitive code. We have to use style. We will also explain you how to use style to design the user interface. So before that, let me run the app first, so you will have idea how the screens will look like and how the flow will be. So let me run the app for you guys. On click of the button, display button, your app will run. So I have already created an emulator. So when this bottom process Gradle executing will be done, we will deploy our code on the emulator. It is building the .apk file in background. So it is utilizing all your source code and resources. It is creating a .apk file and now it is ready. So it pop up that choose your device on which you want to install. I have emulator created with me, so I'll deploy. See, it is executing some command. It is installing the app on an emulator. Let me share my emulator with you. This is the first screen when it will be launched when user opens the application. Now, right now there is no songs in my app. I have to import the songs. I click on the button and I have list of songs with me. I have copied 10-15 songs for the demo purpose in the SD card. So these are the list of our songs. Song name, the album name, which is basically movie name, and the duration of the songs. When I click on any songs, then it will start playing in the background. It will have the notification. We can change songs from here. We can do previous and next. So song will get changed in background, and on exit it will come out of the music app. So song playing is stopped and the execution is out of the application. This is the standard flow. Now we will see how each screen is designed, how we are fetching the list of songs, how we are displaying on the user interface, right? How we are stylized the user interface. I have given some gradient effect, some various colors I have used. So we have to learn these things also. Then how to play song in background, how to display the song on a notification window, how to navigate the songs from that window itself, and how to exit from the music app or how to stop the songs. Correct? So this will be our flow. Now let's go to IDE again. So first screen is that import button screen. So this is that screen, activity display song. I have named that class as activity display song. Now in Android it is the rule that whatever activity we have defined, that has to be mentioned in the manifest.xml file. So as you guys see, we have Android manifest.xml file which has a bunch of lines written. You can see manifest tag, then our package name, then uses permission. See, because I am using or I am reading the song from users SD card, I am reading something from users SD card, I have specified the permission read external storage. So if I don't write this permission, Android will not allow me to perform any task related to SD card. Then I have wake lock. So wake lock is something which keeps your screen alive. Whenever user presses the power button, screens turn and off. So that action is to maintain that thing. Then we have application tag. Application tag is something where you can define the application level thing, right? What will be the name of your application? So I have given the name of music player. Now how I have given the name and what is the best way to give the value over here? See, I have given the name like this, @string app name. So I have defined one value in the string.xml file. App name is music player. So that will be displayed on a launcher screen. We press home button, we have a series of icons or series of images displayed on the launcher. There whatever name you want to display as your app name, that you have to mention over here. Then what will be the app icon? You can define the image reference over here, that is your app icon. I have used this image as app icon, which is lying inside a drawable folder. Then we have activity. So my application is using this activity display songs and activity current song. Now there are difference in declaring two activities. The main difference is intent filter. So intent filter tells which activity should execute first. It is the similar thing like we mentioned in our Java class, public static void main. So by writing this public static void main, we tell JVM to execute that particular block first, right? It is the gateway of our Java project. So similarly, this activity display song is a gateway for our music application. And by defining the category launcher, it will create the icon for this activity on the launcher screen. Whenever user taps on that icon, it will open up the activity display songs, because that is the first screen where user should come after opening our application. So far clear with the application tag, activity tag? You can raise your question right now if you have any questions related to the activity tag. Okay, no questions. So let's move ahead with the service tag. This will cover in a while after we start understanding the services thing. First of all, major reason to explain this thing is activity. How operating system is able to know that this particular activity should open when user taps on the app icon. So this is the screen, or this is the way we can configure in the manifest file, and we can explicitly tell that I want this particular screen to be opened. Now after this, what happens when this activity is coming into the foreground, when this activity is created? Let's go to activity display songs. So I have written some lines. Let's go by each line one by one. So I have said that activity has some life cycle. Whenever the activity is created, or whenever the activity comes in the foreground, it goes into on create method. Over here we come to know that our activity is created and we can start performing various things, or we can start performing the task. So now whenever the activity will get created, we have to display some screen to the user. In our case, it is that import songs button with image in background, correct? So there is a method called set content view. I can set the layout file name and I can display that layout file to the user. And set content view is the method name which is defined in the activity file, or activity class, basically the super class action bar activity. Now let's see what is defined in the layout file. So this is the layout file which is there with us. There are two separate tabs, design and text. If I move to the design mode, it will show me how my screen will look like, because we cannot like directly write some code and immediately test on the emulator. We have to have the preview functionality. Without that we won't be able to know that I have designed the correct UI or not. So this was the first screen. Whenever this screen will be visible to user, it will display like this. Now how I have created each and every element, how I have put the image, how I have put this label, and how I have put this button. So let's go back to the text view. We have a preview facility over here also. Android Studio is very like useful. They have taken care of lot of small things which is developer friendly. So we have a side by side screen to design and to see the preview. Okay. Now we have one main container called relative layout. So inside this relative layout we will add the UI. So I have given a background drawable music app. So the background is that image guy with the headphone. See, this is the layout file. This is the image file which I am using. So I have directly given the reference of that image using the drawable, and it is set as a background. Then on top of that I am displaying the text view, which is no songs available. So if there are no songs, I will display user that right now there is no songs with our application. You have to import from the SD card. So label, in label C I have set this type text large black. So over here I am using the concept of theming. This is the code for theming. So whenever I have to use any text view with this black color and bold effect, I can directly write this line. No need to set color, no need to give text size. So this will have the universal layout. Whenever I set text large black, it should have same font size and same font color in entire app. This is the benefit of using style. Now you can relate with this the concept of CSS in the HTML. This is the similar concept which reduces our task and it makes the coding smart enough, right? So this is various style I have created. I have created various text colors, text white, which is using white color, and text size is normal. If I want to have a text box with larger font, then I'll create one style. I will extend this text white because I have to have display color as a white. I just have to change the font size. So which is nothing but I will override this text size parameter and display as a text large. So that will increase the font. I have created similar text view with different colors. You can visit this styles.xml file and understand the things. See, text large white, then I have text gray, then I have text large black, text blue, and I have defined the colors accordingly. This is the color.xml file which is there in the layout folder. So you can define the hexadecimal code, see the preview over here and use the color whenever it is needed. After that I put button. I have given label import songs which is again defined in the string.xml file. So defining any hard-coded string or such short messages, labels, string.xml is the ideal way or is the best location to store your strings. Then I have given the style italic. I can add those things in the style itself, but I have deliberately not using this style to show the difference, the amount of code we are saving by using this style. The text view is 4 5 lines and button is 7 to 8 lines. So we can save this many lines. We can make our code short and smart enough by using the styles. Every view will have height and width. So we have some built-in uh, units, height and width unit, wrap content and match parent. So it will change your layout accordingly. If I use match parent over here, the button will look little stretched. It will occupy the entire screen width because I am specifying that my button should be of match parent. My width should be of match parent. So whatever the size of the device, it will take that much width. Okay. Then I have used one linear layout, but that I will cover in a few minutes. Before we go ahead, this much layout concept is clear. You guys can raise your questions. Any questions, guys? Okay, let's move ahead. Now coming back to the Java file, after setting the view, after displaying the view to the user, I will initialize all the views, because without initializing those views I cannot use them as an object in Java. I have to map each and every XML view component with the Java object. So I have taken button element in XML file. I will have a similar element or similar object in my Java file, and I will map or I will fetch that view from the XML like I have done on line number 57. I defined one object of button class which is mButton import. Then there is a method findViewById which is again provided by this action bar activity, basically an activity class, and I will specify the ID which view I want to have associated with this button. So in the XML file I have given ID on line number 24, which is button import files. So ID is given to the button, and this is how we bind button to our Java file. Then I have taken few more references of the linear layout, relative layout, and list songs, because I will be needing them to modify them runtime. After that I set the click listener of the button, because I have to perform some task whenever the button is clicked, correct? So I set the click listener. I haven't specified the action, what when user taps on the button, what will happen. That is, I haven't defined yet. I will do it in a few minutes. Then I am setting the click listener of the list items. So we need action when user select particular list item. Whatever song he is playing, I have to play that song, right? Whatever song he is demanding, we need to play that song. So for that we have to have the event whenever user clicks on the song item. Then I am preparing some adapter to have the data for the list view. So list view is the view which will display the songs to the user, and it will have the adapter which maintains data for the list view. So list view displays something and adapter manages the data. So first of all, let's see what is happening when user is selecting the import button. User clicks the import button. So I have defined the click listener like this. I have implemented the on-click listener interface provided by the Android. I have set that interface to this button import. So whenever the button is clicked, I get the callback event on this on-click method. Anybody has doubt with the interface concept, they can ask right away to avoid the confusion in future. Any questions? Okay, great. So moving ahead with the click event, as we understand that whenever the button is clicked, we get the notification or we get the callback event in the on-click method. So first of all, we will fetch the list of the songs as soon as the button is clicked using the concept of content provider. So Here the concept comes how to fetch the list of songs from the SD card. Now SD card will have lot of things stored already, images, some documents, right, videos and songs file. So I want only song file to get extracted from the SD card. So how content provider is useful and what facility it is providing. Let's see it line by line. Now there is a URI. So to to extract or to consume any content provider, we will have a concept of URI, Universal Resource Identifier. Now each various content like images, videos, contacts, SMSs, all those things have their unique URI which is defined by the OS. So there is one variable defined in the media store package which is called external content URI. So in the media store, now media store is the class which handles the various media including audio and video. So go back to audio package of the media store class. Then media store audio class, inside audio again media. So from the media store we are fetching only audio, not any video. So each content will have some URI. The URI to fetch the contact is defined inside media store class, audio class and inside a media class. All these things are static, so that's why we are directly using with dots. So I got the URI, I named them as all songs URI. Okay, now I will fetch all songs one by one. So I have a concept of cursor, but before moving ahead to that, I will check whether SD card is present or not. So this is just to show you guys how you can check whether a particular phone has SD card or not. I have created one method called isSD card. So there is a couple of lines which tells us whether the SD card is mounted or not. It is simple one. Simple call to environment class get external storage state. If it is equals to media mounted, this is a predefined variable. Then if this method is returning true, that means we have the SD card present in our phone. Okay, so this isSD card method will give us the boolean variable. So if SD card is present, we will proceed further to fetch the songs. Cursor is the object of cursor class. Now cursor is similar thing with of result set. So whatever query we give to the database, it will return us the cursor type of object, and we will read that cursor position by position and have the things with us. So the manage query, I pass the URI of the media file or the audio content to the cursor. Manage query is the inbuilt function. I can have specify the fields like song name, album name only, but I want to have all things. So I will use star. Ideally we use star, right? Select star from the table name. This is the ideal string query. So I have defined the star in some variable and I'm using star. Then selection, what you want. So it should be of type music. I gave the selection criteria. Okay. Then it will give us each and every result to me. And it will come into the cursor object. Now we will move this cursor to very first position and we will iterate the cursor one by one. I have created one class called song, which is nothing but a simple pojo, basically a model class where we can store the information related to songs to keep them together. So whenever I need to access particular song object or particular song file, I will refer that object and I will have everything. Now let's see what is there in the song class. So I am bringing things together like song name, album name, full path, the path of that audio file, what is the duration of the song, song ID and song URI. So I have initialized the object of the song. Now I will fetch each and every song file from the SD card and will map them or will add them in an array list. So if there are hundreds of songs in my phone, I will have it in a array list runtime and I will pass that array list to the list view. So this is how we can fetch the song name, display name basically. Like let's go to emulator to understand it better. Import songs. So the text which is written in a white bold color is display name. Text written in a gray color is album name and text written in a blue color is duration. Now, so this is how we can fetch the display name. Cursor.getString because display name will be string. Cursor.getColumnIndex. Now assume there are 5 to 10 fields in a cursor in our result set. So how to request for a particular field of the database? So this is how we request. We have to request via column name. Now Android has given the variable name using which they have defined the column name. So display name is the variable name. They have stored the database column name inside a display name variable. So we will use that variable because we don't know the name of the database field, right? What they have given the column name of the songs name file. So this is the public variable which is accessible by us. So display name, we will get the index of that variable, then ask the value for that particular index from cursor, and that will return us the entire data. So that will have a song name with us. So we will add song name inside a song object using getter and setter method. So inside this song.java file, I have created some simple getter and setter method to make our work easy. So whenever I want to set any value in this variable, I will use set type of property method. If I want to get the value, I will use a get type of property method, which is known as getter and setter in Java. According to, like, in a similar way, we will store each and everything: set song id, set song full path, set song album name, and set song URI. So I will write few lines for you so that will make the understanding easy. Set song full path, so I want to store path name. Then I will have cursor, object of cursor dot get string, because any path will be string. Then get string. Now I want to have the index of the song's path name. So cursor dot get column index, then media store dot audio dot media dot data. So data will return us the name of the song, sorry, path of the song, and we will store in that variable of song type of object. After we add the relevant information in the model class, we will add that model inside an array list, and we will pass this array list to the ListView adapter, and that will display data on a screen. This thing is clear how we are fetching the information from the content provider. Any questions so far? Raise your hand or directly ask the question inside chat. Yeah, mention your question. Okay, we have a bunch of questions with us. Let's go it one by one. Okay, we have questions. What is the difference between linear layout and relative layout? So coming to the layout designing part, let's see the layout file once again. So difference between relative layout and linear layout is, in relative layout everything is depending upon the first view which is put on the user interface. Now let me try to display a diagram kind of thing to things like to understand the things easily. Give me a moment. Okay, so let's see, linear layout is something which draws the view in a linear way. It can be either horizontal or either vertical. So say I put the button, in our case this is the no songs available text. So if I would have linear layout and I tell that the orientation is vertical, then the next view which is button with that will be drawn below the text view. And if I said the orientation is horizontal, then the button will be put besides the text view. This is the linear layout. In relative layout, it will have a one base view, and based on that other layouts will be kept. So by default every layout is kept on a top left corner in a relative layout. Then we have to do some alignment, and based on the main view or base view we will put another layout. So in this relative layout, see, I have given text view and I am telling this button to I am telling this text view to put itself above these import button files. See, I have given the ID button import files. Now in text view I have mentioned one attribute layout above, and I gave the same ID there, button import files. So this is how I tell that the text view should be keep above the button file. Now if this would have been linear layout, then I don't need to mention which view has to be put below which particular view. I just have to maintain using orientation thing like I am doing into this list view. See, this is a linear layout. The orientation is vertical, so anything which I keep after the list view, that will come below the list view. This is the default behavior because I have mentioned the orientation stuff over here. So this is the difference between relative layout and linear layout. I hope this makes sense to you. Now next question we have, what is the cursor command? Okay. Now cursor command is something, cursor is related with the result set. Now assume I am making some query with my database. So what usually I write with the query is select star or select field name from table name, and it is returning me some result. So cursor is the class which is giving us the facility to store or to have all the data in a single object which can retrieve in a future whenever it is needed. This is what cursor is. Clear with the cursor? Yeah, you will have the Android project and other necessary stuffs after the webinar ends. You will have everything, presentations, recording session and source code also. Okay. Let's move ahead. So after getting the list of all the songs, I am setting it into the array list. I am adding them into the array list. And once I add it into the array list, it will be visible to the user. The list of songs will be visible to the user. Like this is visible in this emulator. Now next thing is, what if when user clicks any particular list item? Now before that, let's see how I have bind the data to each and every list item. So for that, adapter is used. We will go to the adapter. I have created a song list adapter.java file. I am extending a base adapter. Base adapter is the class provided by the Android. So to make any class adapter, we have to extend the base adapter class. Now this base adapter class has some callback methods which is useful, which we have override. So using the constructor, I am passing the list of songs in the adapter. Whichever songs is fetched from the SD card, that is passed to the adapter. Then this is the getView method, which is creating the view, which is displaying the view as a list item. So this getView method is called for each and every position. Say I pass 50 data to the list view. So the size of array list in the constructor will be 50, and there will be 50 items visible on the list view. So whenever user scrolls, or whenever that particular row is visible to the screen, the getView method will be called. Now whenever the getView method will call, we will draw the respective UI on the screen. So this getView is coming with three parameters. The first parameter is position. So position is something which tells us for which position of the array list the list getView method is called. See, initially there will be nothing on the screen. So it will draw the view for 5 to 10 list items like it is drawing on the emulator. We have 5 to 6 items visible on a screen at a time. So it will call the getView method for these views, these list items. After that, if this is the first item or basically zeroth index in context of arrays, it will be null. This convert view or the view class of object is the thing which tells us which view is available to draw. Initially this will be null, so we will initialize this view and we will set the data on that view, which is nothing but the song name, duration, that image, etc. So I initialize that view. Now I have separately designed that list item, the strip of that list item. Let's have a look at the strip item. In a design view, see, I have designed one layout which should be displayed as a list item. First is one image, which is nothing but the static image. Then some song name will be displayed. Then album name will be displayed and the duration will be displayed. So I have used linear layout for this. So linear layout, the containers or parent linear layout orientation is horizontal. Why I kept horizontal is because I want the strip in a horizontal way. So there is one image view. Besides image view, there is a song details. So the song detail is horizontal to the image view. So that is why the orientation is set as a horizontal. Now after the image view, I have taken one more linear layout because I want song name and the remaining details on a vertical style. Song name should come in top, and below that I should have a song details. So vertical orientation is set as a vertical. Then audio file name. For now I have set as a dummy file just to check whether the UI is created correct way or not. I have given the ID, I have used the style the same way I have used in a launching screen. Then in the text view, I give text style as a bold because I want to display song's name in a bold way. Then below that, on a side by side, we have album name and the duration of the song. So I have taken one more linear layout which is again horizontal because I want song album name and duration side by side. So I have taken two text view, one is album name and one is duration. I have given the respected IDs. So this is how I have designed the particular list item. Any questions so far? Source code can be modified and used if you want, Deva. No issues. Okay. Moving ahead, coming back to adapter now. So I will inflate that XML layout and convert them into a view class of object by writing this line layout inflator. Then from this is the method which is provided by the Android. Inflate is the method. We just need to give the reference of the layout file. This is the independent, it is not attached with any view group, so I'll pass null over here. This is the usual way people write the layout inflation code. When the layout is inflated, it is converted or it is stored into the convert view object. Then once we have the convert view object initialized, we will assign each and every component with the Java object like we are doing on a main activity. We are assigning the button to the button class. Same way we are assigning that image to the image view, the labels, songs name, album name to the various text view by using find view by ID method. But I have to use this convert view object particularly because I want to find my view within that view object only. Then set the resources to those objects, those view objects. So I am setting the image to the image view. I am setting the song name to the song name text view. I am setting the album name in the album name and the duration likewise. And I have to return the prepared convert view from this method. So whatever object is returned from this getView method, that will be your list item for that particular position. So this is the position we are using to get the data from this array list. I have passed the array list initially on a constructor. I am storing that list as a class level, and from that class I pass the position, get the relevant object and display the data on the view. Any questions in the getView method? Okay, question is why do we inflate the layout? So reason of inflating layout, it's the part of process. Say we create the layout, we create the list item in a XML way. I have to bring that XML inside my Java code. So how to convert or how to get the view type of object from XML file. So this is the way layout inflator. Then inflate is the method which is doing task for us, which is taking the trouble to convert the XML file into a view type of class or view type of object. This is why we have to inflate the layout. Clear? Okay. So whatever view will be returned from the getView method, that will be displayed to the user. So this is how ListView and adapter work. Now next thing is what is happening when user clicks. So whenever user click on the particular list item, what I am doing is I have override one callback method which is called onItemClick. So whenever the list views item is clicked, I will get the callback in this onItemClick method. After the list view item is selected, I am calling one function called service music set selected songs. Now here the services are coming into the picture. We are done with the activity thing. Now we will use service to run the songs. So right now I have already initialized this service object, but now we'll understand when this service object is initialized, when this is bound to this particular activity, and when it is working. Okay, now let's see how to create the service first. I have created one package called service. Inside that I have created one class called music service. Music service is extending a service class. So to create your own service, you have to extend the service class. And there are some interface used which allows us to deal with the media player. Now media player is the class which ultimately plays your song. So there are some utility interfaces which will help us to deal with the media player, but that we will cover after few minutes. Before that, the service class. So as I said, service will work in a background. So we will be binding our service to our activity. So our activity can continuously communicate with the service class whenever it is needed. To make any class service class, we have to extend that class as a service. Then the next step, we have to define the service component inside our manifest file. So this is how we define service in a manifest file. Service, then music service. We have some intent filter. So I have specified some actions. Based on that actions, my service will react, or my service will change its behavior, or my service will perform some task. This is the meaning of the intent filters. So I have defined actions like stop, next, previous, pause. So these actions are nothing but a user defined actions which is simply a string which defines the task like stopping the songs, going next songs, coming to the previous songs, or give a pause to the currently playing songs. These intent filter are for that only basically. Any questions in how to define the services? Okay. So anything public, that means this is related to Java. These are called access specifier basically. So whenever you call say public, that is visible to entire project. So I need this music service class to be accessible in the activity class, so it has to be public. Then only this class or this object will be usable to the another class. That is why it is public. Now all the member data should be private, because this is the data and data has to be secure. So the class should be public so that other class can use that class, but data or variable from that class should be private. So no other class can directly modify that object or that variable without creating the object, because only object can access the data. This is what the standard object oriented programming language concept tells us. So that is why we are making it public, class name is public, and the variables are private. Making sense? Nice. So whenever we write this service, let me create a blank service for you to explain you in a better way. Right click on the package, go in the Java class. I'll give name test service. I will extend service. I have to override some methods. Then only this service will work in a proper way. See, these are some overridden methods available. On create, then on bind. So if you are creating bind services, then you have to use on bind method, then on rebind or on unbind method, on destroy, on start command. These are some useful callback methods. I will use them. Now let's understand each and every methods, because those methods are part of the lifecycle methods. We have seen in the diagram, right? On create method was there, on bind method was there. So whenever the service is created, we got execution in this block. Whenever the service is destroyed, the task is done, the service will get destroyed. So if we want to like free some resources, or if you want to take some actions before service destroyed, this is the place where you can write your code. Then on start command, so after the creation, if service is binded, it will go into this on bind method. If it is a normal service, then it will start command. In bind service, the sequence is go into on bind, then go into on start command method. In normal service, it directly go into on start command after the service is started. So what if when the service is created? Now let's see our music service, our original service. What I am doing when the service is created is I am initializing my media player object, because media player is the class which is responsible to play the songs or to stop the songs. Anything you do with the songs, the media player is the class. So I am initializing, or I am creating the object of media player using new keyword. Then I am initting the player. So I am setting the stream music. We have to tell what is the stream type of a media player. It can be anything. It can be music, or it can be various parameters like stream notification, stream ring. There are various things. Stream voice call. Based on that, it will like uh, pick the audio input. It is managed internally. So if you want to play the songs, it has to be stream music. So after the media player is initialized, we set the wake mode also. So when user turn off the power button, it won't turn off the application, or it will keep playing the songs. Then coming back to on create, we set some callback methods because that will be useful for us to get to know whether the media player object is prepared, what is the status of the currently playing songs, whether it is playing or it is completed. So what logic we will set? When the particular song gets end, we will automatically jump to the next song. So for that we have to know when the song is ended. So for that we have on completion listener, and if in worst case some error comes, then we have on error listener. So we will notified when something went wrong with the music player. So we are initializing music player in a on create. Whenever service is created, we will initialize the music player. Okay. Now, because this is bind service, we have to bind this service with our activity. Now we are again coming back to the activity. We know little bit about the services. Now we are trying to bind activity and our service. Now how to bind our service? So if it is the bind service, we have to create our own binder. So the purpose of creating binder is nothing that will pass the reference of current service to the activity, the current object state to the activity. This is the purpose of binder. So I am creating one binder method, binder class. Inside that I have defined one method called get service. So this binder gets initialized whenever the service class is loaded into the memory. So this get service is ready. Whenever I use this object, play binders object, I can access the get service method. Now, which is the correct place to bind the service with the activity. Now let's go back to our activity. I am closing the unnecessary files. Okay. So now when to bind the services? Now we know this is our music app and that will be using services. So whenever the service, whenever the activity gets start, then we will bind the services. Now how to tell activity that which service I need to bind? Then I will use intent. This is the example of explicit intents because I am using something forcefully. I am using my own intent. So I create the object of intent. I initialize it. Intent takes two parameters. Who is the creator of intent and who will consume the intent. So basically sender and receiver. So music service class is the receiver. After that play intent, bind service is the ready-made method which is provided by the Android. You can pass your intent object inside that. Now bind service is taking two parameters which are like intent, then second parameter is connection, service connection. I will connect service and activity by using music connection object. See, that is a class called service connection. This service connection will tell us whether service is connected properly or not, because it is very important to come to know every time whether our service and activity are is in a connected mode or not. Otherwise that will lead us to a crashing. application will crash and it will behave in an improper way. So select the service connection class. We will cover this callback methods after few minutes. It is doing nothing but giving us the notifications and we are initializing the object. So if the service is connected, if the call to the bind service method is successful, if this call to the bind service method is successful, it will give us the notification in this music connection class. It will tell us that service is connected. Now we will initialize the object of this service music using the binder object. See, we have binder. iBinder parameter is coming into service connected callback method. So I am typecasting it into the play binder because if we observe our service class, I have used play binder. So I am typecasting it into the play binder. I am explicitly typecasting it into the play binder. So, and if I do get service, it will give me the object of currently running service because I have defined the get service method inside a play binder class. See, public music service get service, and inside that class I am returning the object of the same class by writing a line music service dot this. So music service dot this will return us the currently running object of a service. So once the service is connected, I am initializing the object and I am passing my array list. So array list has each and every information about song file. So I am passing the same array list which my adapter has to the services because service needs data to process. Whenever we say play the songs or we say move next songs, then service needs the proper data, the list of songs. So I am passing my whole array list to the services, and after that I am starting my service. So first I bind the service, I gather all the object, I connect all those objects with my activity, then I start the service. So if I don't use this start service method, my service will not work at all. I have to write start service call. Then only my service will get started. And it will go inside this function called onStart command. Okay. Now whenever I say onStart command, it will come over here. Now there are various actions I have given to it. So the action is defined on very top of the services, various actions, which is also defined in the manifest file because services has to respond whenever particular action is demanded from user. Correct? Now coming back to the list item selection because we moved back from that method. So I on list item click, I tell that sort set selection set selected songs. So let's go back to emulator again. Here is our list. When I click on any song, it is executing on item click listener, and it is calling set selected songs. Let's go back to set selection, set selected songs. Okay, what I have written in this song is I am storing the position which will help me to do previous and next thing, because we have the array list and array list works with the positions. So whatever position is passed or whatever position is selected by the user, I store that position in some variable for my future use. I store some notification because we fire the notification also. If you observe that when I select the list item, it gives the notification to the notification bar. So that is maintained by the notification ID. So I have notification ID with me. Then I am storing the song URI. I am setting the song URI. By writing this set song URI is which song service has to play. So I am storing it in some variable. Then I am generating the notification. Then I am calling the start song. Now we need to understand how the notifications are also getting generated. After the notification is generated, we will do start song. So let me explain you the start song method first, then we will go into the notification. So start song is doing nothing, but it's a very basic function which calls media player object. It resets everything. Then it is telling the data source which songs we need to play by calling this function set data source. I am passing the song URI and I am telling the prepare async. I am preparing the media player object. This media player object, dealing with the media player object is little tricky because we have to follow each and every sequence of the method. If I don't write this prepare async, the media player may not work properly. So we have to ready the media player, reset it, prepare it for the play, then play the song. So if it is in the whenever it is prepared, it will come into the play pause song method. Now if state is paused, we have to check whether we have to play the song or resume the song, pause the song. So I am having one boolean variable which is defined on top of the service class over here, 0 and 1. So if it is in pause mode, I will change the value to playing and I will call the start function that will play the songs. And when the song is playing, if I do pause, then it should pause the song. So if you see in the emulator, right now the song is in play mode, pause state. If I resume it, the song gets resumed. Again pause, play, that way. So this is managed by flag. Now how the notification is generated? So we will go back to the generate notification function. Okay, here is the code for notification generation. Show notification. Show notification is the function which is called when set selected song is called, and set selected song is coming from here. Now what we need to display on the notification, because notification will also have its own layout, correct? See, if we see the notification, this is the notification layout. It has application icon on the left. It has song name which is currently playing. It has various controller buttons, media controller buttons, which is taking performing actions like performing previous songs, move to the next songs, close the music app, pause the songs, those options. It is simple layout designing, like we are designing for activity, like we are designing for the list view item, right? So after the layout is designed, now we have notification manager which help us to create the notification to the notification bar. Okay, the question is, if you want to show notification, it is compulsory to use the service. The answer is no. But because over here we are writing it in a services class, the reason is because services is the class which is performing everything related to music. So notification should generated from there only. And most of the time it happens that people triggers the notification from background only, because the purpose of notification is to notify user when it is in middle of other application, or the song the phone is lying in idle state, we give message or we give email. So all these things is done in a background, and whenever we say background, it is the services. So on most of the time the notification gets generated from service class, but it is not the rule. You can generate notification from activity also. Yes, sure. So the piece of code which we are checking right now, the same code can work with the other class also, which is non-service class. The only difference is I have kept it here because services is dealing with the notification, and that function has to be called from service. If you use the same code in activity, the notification will work in a normal way. You can try on your own. So it is this function show notification which is responsible to generate the notification and trigger that small icon on the theme notification bar, and the detail view which is visible when we like scroll down the notification bar is handled by the operating system. We have to set something so that the detail strip is generated. Yeah, I have already highlighted for you. It is this function, public void show notification. We will cover each and every line one by one, but this is the function which is useful to trigger the notification. Okay. Now, for now, keep this pending intent and intent object aside. This is the notification manager. Now notification service is provided by the operating system. So we will tell OS that I want notification service to use in my application. By writing this get system service, we are requesting operating system to give access to the notification manager class. I store or I store the reference of the notification manager's class in the notification manager object on line number 209. Now after that there are two types of notification: default notification and custom notifications. So custom notifications is nothing which has their own view, custom views. So if you see, we are displaying our own views which has image on left, some action buttons are there. Usually the default notification comes with image on left and text on right, that's it. But because we want our own notifications, we will use remote views. So remote views are nothing but our own custom views. So I am building object of the remote views, like remote views, object name is notification view, then initialize them and give the reference of the layout file r.layout.notification controller, and this is the similar layout we just saw, the detail part of the notification view. And get package name, we have to mention which package is calling this remote view. Now this remote view, we have to bind data with this remote views. Yes, we can edit in the notification view, but edit as in setting the text, changing the image view, that's it. Because we want to have our own application icon in a notification bar. So the default notification allows us to pass those data. They have various methods available. We can consume that method and pass our own data. Now after we have remote view ready with us, we will bind the data with the view. So they have some pre-built method. Say if you want to bind this text data, we have a method called set text view text, on which we have to pass the ID and pass the content, and it will map it internally. So in this label I have given ID like this, notify song name. This is the ID of my song title. So I have given the ID r.id.songname, then pass the song name. Now I have the entire list view with me. I have the current position with me. I am fetching the object from the list view and I am setting the song name to this particular view ID. Clear? Now we need to also map those actions, that is previous, next, closing the app, pausing the songs, all those things. So how to bind those button over here? So here comes the pending intent come into the picture. Now we know intent. So intent is the message passing mechanism. Pending intent is also a similar thing, but that is a wrapper for the intent, and pending intent is always used by operating system. We pass intent inside pending intent, and pending intent is passed to the operating system, which is used later. The reason they called it pending intent is they are not used immediately. Whenever user performs some actions on the notification bar, so at that time they are used. So to avoid the confusion, they have the different name, intent and pending intent. So how to prepare the object of the pending intent? We have initialized on the very beginning of the show notification function pending intent. Then I'm initializing it pending intent. Now get service. Why I am writing get service is because my pending intent should deliver to the services which is running, which is binded to the activity, my music player's activity. So I tell him that I want get service. What should be the action? Action should be stop. Now this action stop is defined on the service class. So this action will be performed whenever this pending intent will get executed. Every pending intent will have some unique ID. So I have prepared request code for the same, which is nothing but some integer value sequentially 101, 102, 3, 4 and so on. The reason to give the unique code for pending intent, because OS has to identify each and every pending intent in a unique way, because there might be possibility that other applications will also using the pending intent. Pending intent used in a many way, in music app, in alarm app, in a lot of way pending intent is used. Okay, so yeah, we are working on that only request code thing. Why we need to have a separate request code? First of all, what is request code? Request code are nothing but some different integer values. Now see, within our app there are 4 different actions to be performed from notifications. Now each action should have some unique name so that even we can identify in a proper way, and so as the problem with OS. So I have to give some unique ID which clearly distinguish this pending intent and the actions related to that. That is why we have to give the unique code. Otherwise, the pending intent on line number 216 and pending intent on line number 220 may get confused at the time of execution, and that will create the improper behavior of an application. Clear? Nice. Now we are passing the intent, what action it should perform whenever the pending intent is triggered. So it should perform the action stop, and I bind this pending intent to the stop button which I have defined in a layout file. This is my stop button. I bind that layout file. The ID is notify button stop. I bind that stop button with the pending intent which has unique code request code stop. So we have to be very careful while binding the pending intent to the particular action, because otherwise it may happen that user press the pause button and the songs that the effect we apply is next songs. This may happen because this is all game of IDs. So this may happen. So be careful while assigning ID and pending intent to each other. Similar way, we bind all the actions which is pause, previous, next, and we have matching pending intent for that. Yeah, as I already explained, the difference between intent and pending intent is pending intent is used by operating system. This notification manager basically. Pending intent is used by notification manager or any service provider. There are various service providers like notification service, then alarm service, music service. So this alarm service also uses pending intent. So anything which you want to give to OS, you can use pending intent. Now pending intent which have intent plus some other data, like you on which intent, on which view the pending intent is binding and what data it is carrying. So intent is the data for our app and pending intent is the data for operating system. I hope this is clear to you. Great. So once we have the pending intent ready with all the different actions, we will now build our notification. So I have the object of notification which is defined on very top. Notification is the class. It is simple class which have some functions. Now notification builder which is also initialized when service was created on line number 76. Whenever the service is created, I have already make this object ready. So notification builder will generate the notification. So I use the object of notification. I set icons, small icon. Small icon is nothing but which is displayed very initially when user taps on the list item, which is coming on the thin notification bar as our application icon. Now set ongoing is the method so that user cannot cancel by simply swiping it. When we pull down the notification, we saw our own notification strip. Now sometimes those on swipe, those notification may get cancelled or may get removed. So if I set ongoing true, it will stop the user or it will won't allow user to remove from the notification tray, because it is an ongoing task. We have to display user that this task is performing. Then when this notification should get triggered, so it should get triggered immediately whenever user presses the list item. So that is why I use the method system.current time in millis. I am immediately firing the notification. Then I am setting the content. Content is nothing but that remote view, the custom view. Whatever I set in that content, that will be visible as a notification item. And I set the flag no clear. So that will indicate that it should not clear and it is an ongoing process. These two things should be used in a combination. Then I will call the build method. Now this build method will build the final notification object. Now our notification strip is ready. We will simply notify on a notified tray by writing line notification manager dot notify, and it has some notification ID and notification object. So this notification object will be used, which we just build, and it will be notified. Now I am using some notification ID. Every notification will also have some unique ID. It can be any random number. If your application is generating notification from some single screen, you can have some random number. Otherwise, you have to take care that you provide the unique ID each and every time. If I don't use notification for them, so there is no need of adding service. No. See, don't get confused with notification and services. Both is entirely independent thing. The purpose of notification is to display user or to notify user, to message the user for anything. It can be incoming email, it can be a missed call, it can be an incoming message, incoming call, anything. All this is notification. Now service performs some specific task given by the activity or some other component. Say if I want to perform some specific task in background, I have to use services. Now it is not necessary that my service will notify user that I am performing this task. Now for example, we never know when Google is syncing our emails with the actual Gmail client. But we do know when the email comes. Both is performed with the services, but one service gives the notification, one service doesn't. The services which is syncing our data with the Gmail don't give the notification, but the services which brings the incoming email, that gives us the notification. So it is the requirement how app should behave. Make sense? Okay. So yeah, we were discussing about the notification ID. Each notification should have their own unique ID, and if we need to refer that notification in future, we have to store that ID somewhere. So right now I have stored that in a variable which is some string value, random string value 11 in our case. So I pass the notification and notification ID. Now the moment I call this line, which is written on line number 237, that will be displayed to the notification bar. Clear? So first, let's once again see the flow of how the show notification is working. Coming back to emulator, so I'm going exiting from the app, music player, import songs. Now say this is a song. I click on that song and there is some problem with the audio. Wait. Okay, say I played this song. So whenever I am clicking on the song, in background it generates the show notification, and that is become visible over here with this remote view, custom views, which we are binding over here. Set text view, then pending intent, all this gets binded. Then these three buttons, previous, pause and next, previous, pause and next are those action button which is binded with the pending intent. So whenever I perform next, that will fire that particular pending intent and it will play the given song. Now what is happening when I perform the actions? We know that how we are binding the pending intent, but we don't know what is happening when user actually performs the actions, right? So let's go back to IDE again. The execution will, like we have write the pending intent. Now whenever this pending intent will come, it will give this service a notification over here on start command. Here we will come to know what action user has performed. We will fetch the actions. So intent is coming. Now if you remember, we are passing intent to the pending intent. right? So whenever that pending intent will get triggered, we will get the same intent in start command method. When we get this start command, we will have the actions which is performed in that intent. We will check by if else condition, simple if else condition, which action is performed. So if the action is pause, we will pause the song. If action is next, then what I am doing start song. So I am incrementing the position in the array list and I am telling services to play that song. I am resetting the media player, I resetting the flag, I reset the song URI, data source, and I do prepare async. So I prepare my media player and in background I update the notifications because song name has to be changed, right? From song 1, if we move to song 2, that has to be changed from song 2, the text in a bold which we have written. So this is how we update the notification without generating the new notification. We don't generate the new notification, we simply update it. We take reference of notification manager. We have the notification object with us. So this was the reason I have defined in a global way. I defined all those variables at class level. M notification, then notification manager notify refer the same notification ID. Otherwise that may not update the notification in a proper way and pass the notification object. I just change the notifications custom view text. That's it. I didn't change anything because only that thing has to be refreshed. Getting it? So this is how we update the notification. We don't regenerate but we simply update it. Now coming back to emulator again, we can resume the songs, go back to previous songs. At every time this is simply updating the notification. So user is not coming to know anything. It is a smooth user experience for him. And it also know that which songs it will play. I hope you guys are able to listen the song also. Oh, no problem. You can like refer when you have the source code. There might, because I am playing the song in emulator, you might facing the difficulty. Maybe software is not taking the streaming. So if you are done with the music, you don't want to listen this music anymore, you can simply give the stop action and exit from the app. That's it. So this was the overall approach for the music player, how you can build your music player. Music player comes up with a lot of functionalities like equalizer, saving the preferences, sorting, sort by album, sort by artist, sort by songs, search. But the core functionality is this: listing the songs, playing in a background, allow user to perform from the background, all those things. So if you know how to display data and how to deal with the bound services, you can build your music player very easily. So this was the overall purpose of our webinar. I hope you guys learned it very well and this will be very helpful in your future and in your Android skill also. You guys can have raise your questions if you have related to anything, your music app, Android, anything. Any questions? Any other questions? Yeah, please ask. Okay. Yeah. What you want to know in Android Studio? Layout rendering errors. Okay. I show you this can be the possibility because you recently upgraded your ID. Go to the design preview. We have various options over here on which OS you want to see. Just downgrade your OS level to 5.0.1. It will refresh and re-render the UI, and it will work. Then make sure you have everything updated, right? Build tools, SDK tools, everything. Make sure everything is latest. Go into the tools, SDK manager. Make sure your version of support library is also updated. SDK tools is also updated. Check your build.gradle also, which tool you are using. So if any of the combination is failing, there is a possibility that it may not rendering. Or if you are using some custom views, then also the rendering may fail. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? You guys will get PPT and video in shortly. VCS is yeah, code also, code also. Version control system is something like when there are multiple developers or multiple developers working on a same project from remote locations, from different locations, or even we say I want to work on some particular project from my home or from my office also. Then I have a repository set on some server, right? So what I can do is I can perform something on office. By before leaving the office, I will commit or I will push my all code to that server. I will come to home or any other location. I will pull that updated code again, update something, and again commit or push on the server. So version control system maintains all those things. Who changed it, when it is changed, what are the changes, all those things. There are different version control systems which is already integrated in the Android Studio, which is SVN, GitHub, Mercurial, all those things. Any other questions? Maven is different and VCS different. See, Maven is a central repository where we put our code which is available for public. Now apps source code is different and some libraries source code is different. So if I want to use Facebook SDK, then Facebook people upload their code on Maven repository, and Maven repository is accessible from everyone. And our app, say our music app, this is my private product or private project. I don't want to share with the people, and it is not the library, it is not for the public use. Then there is no meaning to put on the Maven. It is better you have on your internal server and manage that way only. Yes, video will be shared via YouTube link. So this video will be updated on a YouTube, and you can watch it anytime, anywhere. What is Gradle? Now Gradle is the build tool which is building your APK file basically. So Gradle has some different versions. Gradle supports some specific file structures. So if you have previously worked on Android Eclipse, you might notice that file structure for Android Eclipse and Android Studio is different, because Android Studio is using Ant as a build tool and Gradle is a different build tool. Gradle is a very high performing build tools, very highly optimized build tools compared to Ant, and Android people are recommending Gradle. So nowadays Android Studio is becoming the best, because Android has Google has officially announced that they are no more supporting Android Eclipse. So Android Studio is the official ID. It is better you quickly migrate to Android Studio if you are not, if you are still using this Eclipse. Move to this Studio. Any other questions? Okay. Bye friends. Thanks for participating in the webinar. You will be updated via an email which has all the content in it. Okay. Thanks. Bye everyone.